Fans, welcome to Sports Chat. This special edition, we're going to kind of wrap up the football season, get ready for basketball. Talk about Justin Price year one. You know, we went down to Oak Ridge and we failed Oak Ridge, 42-7. What was the final? You know, Oak Ridge was playing like a team that was geared up to try to win a state title. They know they have a lot to play for and are in probably the worst possible playoff bracket ever because they're in the same playoff bracket as Maryville and Faraday, both teams that have beaten them this season.
And also I'm sure they feel that they have more to prove now than they have in years past because they started the season off really rough.
They did.
And so now that they're healthy, they feel that they have even extra to prove.
Now here's some interesting notes. All three 6A teams from our region made the playoffs.
Yeah,
Only two of the 5A teams made it.
Anderson County got in with a win, and I think I think the Hard Valley win over Carnes ended up making Anderson County finish high enough to get in. Hal, of course, probably I can't imagine them not at least getting to Murfreesboro to play for the state title, unless there's a major upset. Anderson County has to play them in the playoffs next week.
Probably will be even more of a revenge game. I mean, Hal's still hurting from last year.
Under this strange new Z plan, apparently now you play teams from your district in the playoffs.
Right. Wartburg actually upset state-ranked Sunbright and managed to back into the playoffs. And they had to play Oliver Springs, who is a district game for them.
Now that was a huge win for Wartburg and for Rodney and Joe and the rest of his staff. You know, that was just to beat a top 10 team in the state after all they've been through this year. And Sunbright's been a powerful offense all season. The last two seasons, they held them to 6 points.
And one of their players is up for Prep Extra Player of the Week. So, if any of you are watching this on the actual week of the week and not, in the future, go ahead and go vote for him.
Yeah, Oliver Springs is one of their bitter rivals. Anderson County is talking to people from there. They're kind of upset they had to play Powell week one.
It really surprised me when they said they did. I mean, I've not paid a lot of attention to the playoffs since the Z plan started, and it's really bizarre. Like Coalfield has a first round bye. Nobody in 5 and 6A has byes.
I don't understand that. I guess it's to do with the discrepancy of school numbers is all I can figure.
Massive amounts of East Tennessee teams in the playoffs. The Prep Extra area itself, which is basically Knox and surrounding counties, I want to say sent 48 teams. It could be a good year for state titles for East Tennessee.
Last year East Tennessee won 4 of the 6, I think. Maybe even 5 of the 6.
7, because one of them was way
private school division. Yeah, they went with 1-5. It was Maryville, Alcoa, South Pittsburgh, Greenville,
Webb.
That's 5 at least of the 7, and maybe even 6 of the 7. I can't remember exactly. Won state championships last year. The East is powerful football, and I'll be stunned if Maryville doesn't win it again. And honestly, I think Grace Christian would win it if they were eligible to play.
They absolutely would. The way they handled their season, knowing that was it. There's no playoffs, no postseason, no anything to play for.
They beat South Pittsburgh, who won the last 2 state titles in their division to close out the season. It should be an exciting playoff. You got Kingsport, Dobbins Bennett, who's undefeated. They're in the same division, the same playoff race with Maryville. Sevier County may be undefeated as well. I'm not sure.
Sevier County's not undefeated, but they're
the top 10 of the state.
Yeah, they lost it. They can't be undefeated. They had to lose to Dobbins Bennett. They're in the same.
Okay. So you got a bunch of pretty good rivalry games coming up throughout the East.
I think they're actually 9-1, with their only loss being to Dobbins Bennett.
I'll be interested to see if Dobbins Bennett can make it. They have a history of losing in the playoffs, beating Oak Ridge, but losing to other teams that should beat them. And to see them get out there and play Maryville, because honestly, I can't see anybody beating Maryville. Even Oak Ridge, looking like they're playing well. Just a few weeks ago, Maryville beat them like 42-6. Maryville's that good, and I'll be surprised if they don't win another state title. Now, down in 3A, it's up for grabs this year because Alcoa has won it, 7 years in a row or something like that, ridiculous. Alcoa's down this year. Guess it's easier for someone else to do it.
You know, CAK is in that mix. Austin East is in that mix. You know, there's a lot of teams that are just waiting to feast upon this crown that has been just untouchable for so many years.
I expect that one to probably drift out to Middle Tennessee or West Tennessee. Some of the teams that have been playing Alcoa in the state championship games will probably win that title game. But I think Alcoa played maybe either a team from Memphis, I think East Side, White Side, somewhere around in there. Somebody produced a Tennessee player a few years ago. They played him 3 years in a row in that state title game. Or 2 of the last 3 years or something along those. Pearl Cone, maybe, I can't remember.
Pearl Cone's a national area school.
I know it's a bigger school from a school from West Tennessee, not a bigger one obviously, but a school from West Tennessee that they had matched up at least 2 to 3 years in a row with Alcoa in that state title game. And they're pretty good.
I mean, Memphis Trevisan.
Yeah, Memphis Trevisan, I think. And I think LaRon Harris, a Tennessee defensive tackle, signed. He played there a few years ago. But it should be exciting playoffs. You know, the season's over for Campbell County in the football front. You know, it was a solid year. I didn't honestly expect them to win 3 games when the year started.
I looked at the schedule. There were a lot of games I considered winnable, but just with all the turmoil, everything that went down, I was not sure what was going to happen there. It was a big if Justin Price can come in and get them kicking, they can win some games, and he did.
You know, they were 1-9 last year with the only win over Halls.
And Halls is atrociously bad, especially last year. They improved some this year.
We had never beaten them twice in a row, though, so I honestly didn't fear if we could beat them again. Clinton, even when Clinton's had really bad years in the past, they've still beat us. Mm-hmm. You know, Carnes, we thought Carnes was actually going to be bad this year, but they were actually very good. So that
wound up making the playoffs.
That was one of the games we thought we might have a chance to win. Carnes actually turned out to be a really good team this year. I actually thought we might struggle with Cumberland County because Cumberland County scored 35 points a game a lot last year, but they actually ended up not being great this year.
Of course, Seymour, we didn't see that game, but you know, Seymour was the first game under the new system.
I just played in the rain on a pretty rough night. I actually thought Seymour might have been one of the winnable games this year, but it probably would be if we played them later in the season. But under that circumstance, starting the game on the road in the rain with a delay.
Of course, we basically only got dominated twice this year. Well, three times.
Carnes.
I was actually living out of Oak Ridge.
But Oak Ridge has always dominated Campbell County. Hopefully we can see that gap close in the coming years. And they're the measuring stick in the district. Powell was this year, but over the long course, it's probably going to be Oak Ridge. If the districts stay the same as they are, they'll have to change them every few years.
Right. Powell is going to probably suffer a lot of attrition this year. There's probably a lot of people looking to play revenge games against Powell next year.
Powell is 26 seniors.
I say Powell, pretty much during the senior game, they announced they were starting. Every one of their starters was a senior.
They lose 26 seniors this year.
And just in McFetridge and Mobley, just powerhouse offense. And their defense was pretty darn strong too.
We'll have to see where things shake out through spring practice, through fall. Hopefully we can get Coach Price and Matt, and maybe just any other coaches want to come up here in a couple of weeks to give an outlook maybe for early next season and wrap up this current season. Of course, we look at spring practice to see how the new quarterback, whoever he may be, ends up throwing the ball around. Because you have to replace. I would say the key seniors you have to replace are obviously Tuffy, who's just been huge for the team this year with his legs in times when the pass wasn't open. Mm-hmm. That's going to be by far the biggest loss. But Tyler Oaks is going to be a big loss on defense. He's a run stopper.
Joe Peak is actually going to be a big loss despite his limited playing time. He could have been a difference maker this year.
Peak, he showed up big against Halls, but since he was not around for much of the year, hopefully they're used to playing somewhat without him. It would be good to have him back next year. obviously. I think the guy, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, he's the 6'5", 280-pound defensive lineman.
Logan Hunter.
I think he's a senior.
He's a senior.
That's going to be a lot to replace. That's a big guy standing there.
And we didn't get to see him play much, but Lucas Schaffner, he started the season out really well. We didn't realize it was him.
We thought it was Phoenix Ash.
He was wearing Phoenix Ash's jersey because he was supporting his teammate as he was having surgery on his shoulder. But he ran impressive for the first 2 games, but was put out due to concussions.
Multiple concussion syndrome. I mean, that's about. He was having some problems, and concussions are dangerous.
This team, it's going to have to find itself some leaders for next year.
Of course, you got to look to Ethan Miller right off the bat.
Ethan, he's coming back. Isaac Phillips coming back. Rud Ball. He's coming back.
Corey Phillips will be back catching the ball. On defense, Nick Bailey, dominating linebacker.
Very good linebacker. Can you remember his name? The center. He ended up being a sophomore. Started out, played well all year. We got a lot of stuff coming back. Hopefully, you get some of the players you're not playing right now will come out and play for the team. It was an exciting year. I mean,
well, Ethan Simpson never got to see the field.
He was injured,
and he could be a difference maker.
It was just it was already a record-setting year on offense in a lot of categories.
Right.
And you come out, get a little more depth on defense, and Matt can get his system going a little bit. With the spring practice, it's big to have a spring practice. Have some
absolutely.
Workouts and everything.
And Justin said it, with Parker the other day. He was doing stuff in the beginning when the season was starting that most head coaches were able to do last January.
Yeah.
And so he was playing catch up the entire time.
It'll be an interesting year next year, an exciting year. Have a lot of tough home games with Powell coming up to Campbell County, with Oak Ridge coming up to Campbell County,
Carnes coming to Campbell
County. Some tough road games, having to travel to Hardin Valley, travel to Anderson County.
Right. We'll have to travel to Central. Seymour's actually one of the rough ones, simply because of the length of the trip. We've got to go to Cumberland County.
Yeah. So
Cumberland County is a tough trip to ride on a bus.
It's about 2 hours from here. It's about an hour outside.
It's in Central time.
Yeah. We'll just have to see how things work out. Hopefully, from looking at the teams next year, I hope Clinton will be better with their new system coming in, and that'll be a big home game.
In fact, Clinton gave Anderson County all they wanted Friday night.
Central, honestly, they were a one-man show. I'm not sure if they'll have. I'm not saying they're going to be bad next year. But against us, they were a one-man show. We could not stop Cody Blank. He'll be at Tennessee next year.
Right.
Thankfully.
So,
I think he'll do well at Tennessee. He probably won't be playing the position he is now at Tennessee.
Well, he played defensive back for Carnes on defense. I expect that's where he's going to end up at Tennessee. Maybe in a kick return game as well.
Right.
As well as David Young's worked out being another Knoxville speedster.
That's true. Of course, I expect Mobley and McPherson from Powell to. I'd say they'll probably be at a SEC.
There's good chances both of them will be playing in the SEC next year.
Good thing that means they won't be playing against Campbell County next year. God, that quarterback, he just killed Campbell.
I mean, Cougars came in. They were able to get Mobley down. Then McPherson stepped up and kept running the ball.
He got Mobley, marched down the field, scored a touchdown, and then got Mobley just blasted on his first carry of the game. He was a non-factor after that.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't need him. But Powell losing those 26 guys, it makes them much more.
Right.
Mainly.
And a lot of those guys are 2 and 3 year starters.
It's their giant defensive line that they're losing. Their defensive line, they average 6'2" and 280. That's a college-sized defensive line. And I'm pretty sure they were all seniors.
Yeah, that's my size. They're as big as I am.
just huge guys. You know, and that's tough to handle for a high school front when Campbell County's got some offensive linemen that probably top out about 235.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you take Cornute's pretty big kid, the center. Logan Hunter, pretty darn big kid. But I mean, we had some smaller linemen going on.
But it'll be an exciting year. I think we're going to throw the ball around even more next year. Receivers, hopefully they can be ready, get the right routes down. They'll have more time to practice these routes.
Mm-hmm.
They get some better blocking on the edges. I mean, to make this offense work, you have to have people who are good at blocking, and you have to have some people who have pretty good speed. And we've got some kids that are like that. But that's what makes it tough against a team like Oak Ridge, who has these huge, speedy players. And if you don't block them perfectly, they're going to chase the play down.
Well, and that's kind of what Carnes did to us this year.
Yeah.
They just had overwhelmingly good speed.
They just took it to, blitzed and blitzed and blitzed and blitzed, and didn't have time to get away from them. But I think we'll see a big improvement next year. I'm not sure what the win-loss record will be. I think we have a good shot of approaching win level to make the playoffs.
Apparently, depending on how the district falls, 4 and 6 will get you in the playoffs.
If we can, I'm looking at probably 2013. We should have a good starting junior quarterback. The system should be well in place. Mm-hmm. I think that we should probably have a winning record by 2013 if the district, according to how the other teams in the district reload. Because they've got a big pool to reload from compared to some of the Campbell County.
Right. I mean, we don't know if the next Cody Blank's hiding on Central Side.
Well, high school is a lot more variable from year to year than college because you just don't know who's coming and who's not. There's just an unlimited pool of high school players, basically. There are probably 800 boys in the school that you can build a team out of if you can get them to come out and play.
Right. And on the other side of the mountain, Jellico had probably one of its roughest years on records. Mm-hmm. I really hope that Coach Brad Smith can go up there and get some kids out of those hallways and on that field.
And for the players that came out and played hard and stuck it out the entire season, I have to say congratulations to you guys. I mean, that's not an easy feat to do.
No, when you're getting just pounded every week and getting beat up on and pushed and kicked, you basically, you're taking a physical beating every week, and there's not enough of you to even field
practice
2 platoons. You have to play basically 1 platoon system, where your offense and defense, play the entire game. You got kids going 60 minutes out there because there's no replacement for them.
Right.
Practice is terrible because you're having to run half lines.
Yeah.
I mean,
it does not give you a real feel for the game.
You can just get 10 more players out. That'll make a huge difference to that team. But you really, at Jellico's size, you need about 25 to 30 players, and they're working with just a little over half that right now. Mm-hmm. That's got to improve, and it comes down to a matter of, the coach has to sell the kids to participate.
Right.
And it's going to be a hard sell. I mean, it really is.
It's tough.
They play in a tough district.
But
they play in the district with a traditional powerhouse in 09 that has multiple state titles. Mm-hmm. 2 teams that were ranked in the state this year. Right. It's a tough schedule.
It's tough, but like I say, it will start with building. It's going to start with the relationships he can build this winter in the spring.
And that's something Justin Price talked about, is getting out in the hallway in this off season and building those relationships with the kids.
Friday night, Coach Price said that they brought 64 kids to Oak Ridge. That was more than they started the season with.
Last year, by the time they played Oak Ridge, they were down to a shade over 30 players.
That's how much difference it makes to, and that's what Coach Smith at Jellico is going to have to do. He's going to have to find a way to get out in the hallways and get people to play.
I know I talk about Wartburg a lot. and Rodney. But I coached with Rodney, and that's what he does so well, is get out in that hallway and make it seem like this is going to be a fun place to play football. You stick with me, we'll win games, we'll make it to the playoffs.
I hate this. You don't want to say anything particularly bad about Coach Wells, because he did a good service here as far as it goes for the football field for a few years. But from what I understand, he was not good at building relationships. That's why we would end up with 30 players on the team. Literally, the only people that ended up playing were people who just loved absolutely to play football and were going to play no matter what.
And also, from what I understand, he pretty much let some few players do whatever they want, and that chased people away too. That chased kids that probably would have played well. They weren't there because of the attitudes from the other players.
There's a reason participation went up so high under the new coaches, and they are strict with the kids. I mean, I sat beside Justin the entire season, almost every game, and listen to him. He's harsh with the kids, but he's fair. And if they make a mistake, if they mouth off to the referee or mouth off on the field, then you can see it. If anything like that, Justin's on.
Right.
And
He
I
can
can say,
pull you out of the game immediately.
I can say by the same token, I stand on the sidelines, and I've seen Matt Price jerk key players out of the game for stuff like that. And of course, obviously Matt's on the headset with Justin. I actually think they can communicate mind to mind. It's a twin thing, but I've seen them pull these players out and explain to them right there what they're doing wrong, what they need to do to fix it, and they better fix it or they'll be sitting down.
And also, as a couple weeks ago, Joe Pete just got. The player just verbally abused him. Just bad on the, and they pulled him aside and said, "Hey, what did you say back?" They wanted to know, were you listening to us when we told you that, hey, no matter how they're playing, we want you to play to a higher level.
And that's another thing. They want you to play their way.
You're out there first to represent your school in a fashion that's not going to embarrass the school.
Right.
And then you're out there to play your hardest and win games. That's their two big priorities. And that's the two priorities you have to build a respectful and good program.
Right. Justin put it as good as you can hear it in the talk he gave at Fields of Faith a few weeks ago about how he sees being all in means, and how he's projecting that to his players to get them to be a higher standard, to be a role model on the field and in the school. And I think the Price twins, I think they're setting themselves up to be able to project that into future classes.
I also expect next year, since they have the whole year to do it, I have a feeling next year the middle schools are going to be much more on the same page.
Yeah, they need some help in the middle school. Speaking of middle school, Jacksboro played in the championship game against Oneida yesterday. And I didn't see the score.
I didn't either, but I'll be honest with you. The fact that I didn't see the score tells me that Oneida won.
I would figure that Oneida won. I couldn't imagine any
Now,
other way.
I do have to give some congratulations to Norris, which a guy I used to coach by the name of Adam Coleman. He coaches Norris Middle School, and they won the small division. And it's old Jacksboro boy out coaching. We've talked about that coaching tree before, and maybe one of these days, Adam played ball with the Prices his whole life, all through Little League, middle school, high school. Maybe we'll get to see Adam on a middle school program up here. He's a championship level coach now.
Well,
And a great defensive end.
hopefully, as you talk about, the coaches can help La Follette and Jacksboro get this system installed. Especially La Follette, they were lost on offense this year because they didn't appear to have a system.
Right. They were playing 5 different styles You know,
Sometimes in the same series.
I would say in a series. I mean, every time they put their hand on the ball, it was almost they were lining up different.
You just got to get a system and stick with it. And it would be obviously for the best to try to run the systems that we run in high school, because that's what your middle school programs do at most other places. At Campbell Gap, the middle school goes over to the high school to practice. You know, they get the 8th graders over there and practice on the practice field with them. And, you know, it's just a synced up system.
The same thing. The last time Rodney and Joe came to be on Sports Chat, we had to set the shooting day different because Rodney was having a clinic for his middle school coaches of how to run his system.
That's what you need. That's what's going to have to. You do that, and 4 years down the road, those seniors have had 6 or 7 years in a system.
You don't have to teach it to them anymore.
And it's ready to go and it's ready to dominate. You know, you could have Powell, their middle school traveling team ran a very similar offense to the Powell High School team.
In Little League, the Oak Ridge teams, they actually practice the Oak Ridge system right there. Jefferson and Robertsville. Lord knows me and Luke know about playing Jefferson and Robertsville from our days at Jacksboro.
Yeah.
They run that system. And by the time you get to the high school, they run it without even having to think about it. I mean, these are kids that are literally running this system from the time they start touching a football to the time they graduate high school.
And that will help a whole lot. And it's tough, you know, when you got 2 middle schools feeding the high school anyway. And then they get up there and middle school A has ran this system and middle school B's ran this system, and then it's another third system going at the high school level. So, you know, there's just a lot of extra teaching, a lot of extra effort you have to put into getting them coached up in time for the season to start and get them to forget their old plays and start their new plays. But if you can get everybody on the same page, and I think they eventually will, then you've got a lot of the battle fought already.
So, you know, to wrap up, I mean, you can honestly say, all in all, this was a successful football season for Campbell County High School.
Yeah,
I believe so.
Definitely the most exciting season they've had up there in years, easily since the playoff teams, and in some cases, because, you know, if you like high scoring offense especially, you know, those playoff teams will beat teams often with just low scoring type battles. Sometimes they'd have some good scoring, but, you know, God, it seems like I can remember Campbell County years where it was hard to score points.
And when Tuffy broke all the records against Halls, I had the book that Rodney had written and that Josh and Frank and all of them at T&Q had updated. And I tell you, it's got the Cougars score, it's got season by season listing of how games went. There were some rough years in there, folks. I want to say there was a year where they scored 18 points.
Now there was some, I mean, there's been some years where it was shut out or 3 points, shut out 3. You know, that would be the entire year. If you could score 2, there were years I can remember. I'm not sure if we broke double digits in some games, in most of the games of the year, if at all.
You're definitely your first and last, or your junior year. My senior year is one of the worst years in the history of Campbell County football.
I can remember one of the years.
The Don Rawls year.
We managed to score probably about 4 field goals in the entire series of district play. And I think we beat Scott County that year for the only win, something along the lines of 10-7. And that may have been the only game we got double digits on.
Right, and like I said, that Don Rawls year, we went 0-10. I mean, players, by the third game, he was such a bad coach that they were barely fielding the team in a high school of 1,500 kids.
It was a lot of rough years, dude. Just throughout the whole history of the school. And now, I'm not sure how many points we scored this year right offhand, but it was well over 100 points in the season.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we averaged, I would guess, probably 15, 18 points a game, if not more.
Well, I mean, if you put together the Halls game and the Cumberland County game, you're approaching 100 points.
Well, we broke 20 against Clinton, broke 20 against
Anderson County, didn't we? Or did we just do 18 against Anderson County?
I know we broke 20 against Hardin Valley. It's obviously 49 against Halls. 34, I think, against Cumberland County. And I'm just seeing even, right for now, that's exciting to see. In a few years, you're winning games and scoring, but for now, just seeing Campbell County score and compete with everybody is exciting. And so hopefully the Jellico coaches can get players out of the hallways and onto the field and field a team of 30, 35 players. And they'll compete. The middle schools, camps will get synced up. They'll compete. And like I say, hopefully we can get the coaches in, Coach Price, maybe Matt and Justin both. Maybe come down, or we'll go up there or something and talk to them about the year and hear it coming shortly. And we're going to be pretty much on the basketball season here in a couple of weeks.
Right, of course, we got some exciting Powder Puff football this week,
We hope.
in theory.
It was scheduled.
It is definitely still scheduled. We don't know if it's going to happen, but it was scheduled. But fans will be back next week. We're going to go watch some Halloween movies now because, it's on Halloween. Y'all have a great week. Thanks for your support. We'll see you soon.